But for today's presentation, we'll be focusing on Cote d'Ivoire. Without further ado, let's present myself. I'm Mbe Kasejan Uik, an Ivorian, and let's jump into the main content. Wow. Okay, great. So for this presentation, we'll be giving, first of all, a short description on Cote d'Ivoire, following by the state of its national determined contribution, and also talk about some ongoing and already implemented renewable energy projects in Cote d'Ivoire, and finally display some regulations or policies related to the energy sector in order to achieve net zero emissions. So for those of you who are not familiar with Cote d'Ivoire, I mean, Cote d'Ivoire is a West African country, and it has an official language, French. French is the language spoken by Ivorian. And surprisingly, people may think that the capital of Cote d'Ivoire is Abidjan, but let me tell you today that the capital is Yamoussoukro. Abidjan is just the economic capital. And we have some neighbor. I mean, we are border with Mali and Burkina Faso in the northern part. And in the western part, we have Guinea, Conakry, and Liberia. We have also our neighbor Ghana in the eastern part, and we are blessed with the Atlantic Ocean in the southern part of the country. So the population is about 28 million inhabitants, and 52.5% live in the urban area, and 47.5% in the rural area. Cote d'Ivoire is also a world-leading country in agriculture, where the agriculture alone accounts for around 23% of the gross domestic product. When we take cocoa, for example, it accounts for 40% of the global production. So after giving a short description of the country, let's see the state of the national determined contribution of Cote d'Ivoire. In 2015, ahead of the adoption of the Paris Agreement, Cote d'Ivoire firstly submitted its national determined contribution to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. And the objectives were to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions to 28.25%. But this first strategy did not take into consideration the forestry. And we know that forests also contribute to reduce the greenhouse gases with the natural reaction of photosynthesis, where plants are able to absorb CO2 from the atmosphere and emit oxygen, which is source of life. So with this first strategy that did not include forestry, the government decided to revise again the NDC, and thank God that has been done and presented in May 2022. And the revised one includes 38 mitigation measures. And with these 38, we have 37 unconditional and 11 conditional. What does that mean, unconditional? Unconditional means that with this one, those measures, the country will only rely on its national economy, while with the conditional one, it needs international support. So with this revised NDC, National Determined Contribution, the target with the unconditional is to decrease up to 30.41% of the emissions. And with the conditional one, it could reach about 98.95% reduction by 2030. This is the targeted year. And this revised NDC covers mainly 4 sectors, which are the energy, waste management, agriculture, and forestry sectors. So it also tackles green jobs, providing jobs to the youth in the country, and also just transition. Every project that has to deal with transitioning from fossil fuel to renewable energy. Gender is also considered in this new strategy. So for the implementation of the NDC, it requires about 10 billion for mitigation actions and 12 billion for adaptation actions. And the country is currently partnering with other countries in order to coordinate and implement this revised NDC. So as we don't have too much time, we are going to show you some measures around the 38 that I just mentioned. So we know in Cote d'Ivoire, the energy sector is very paramount. The government is working very hard in order to promote renewable and sustainable energy solutions. You know, about the 38 measures, we have 24 of them are for the energy sectors. And here are some mitigation measures. The first one is to improve people access to electricity and energy at affordable price. This is very important because you may have your renewable energy or whatever, but if the population cannot afford it at a nice price or low price, then it becomes useless. The second one is to increase the use of renewable energy in the electricity generation. Of course, you will know from this slide that Cote d'Ivoire, the current capacity is dominated by fossil fuel, but by increasing the access of renewable energy or deployment of renewable energy, that will make greener the energy sectors. It's also important to improve energy efficiency. You know, energy efficiency is something that we Africans sometimes is very difficult for us to deal with. When we are in the office, sometimes the temperature is very cool, is very nice, but we still turn on the AC. These things is not good for the energy efficiency. That's why we need to improve that. We need also, for example, for this strategy, the government is planning to diversify the Ivory car fleet. For those of you who knows Cote d'Ivoire, there is a type of car called Baka. When they are running, they are emitting incomplete combustion, incomplete reaction is done. So doing, they release some particulate that has bad effects on the health. So that can generate or that can create cancer to the people. So the last one is to promote mass transportation. As I'm talking now, Cote d'Ivoire is developing the metro that will help the population in order to reduce the emission. Because imagine that if everyone has to take his own car to go from one place to another, that is a great emission in the country. So by promoting the mass transportation, that will help to reduce the greenhouse gases emissions. About the adaptations, the country aims to reduce vulnerabilities and also increase climate resilience in 5 priority sectors, which are agriculture, food, land use, water, earth and coastal area erosion reductions. So now, let's look at the current state of the emission of the country. For now, the total emission of CO2 is about 12 megatons CO2 emitted according to the International Energy Agency data. So that globally accounts for around 0.04% of emissions. And at regional level, Cote d'Ivoire is placed at 14th front of Senegal. And we can see that if there is no effort made, make Cote d'Ivoire will be a big emitter country. So for the target, let's see the reduction of be done considering the unconditional target with the 30.41%. We have a reduction up to 37 million tons equivalents of CO2. But if we go for conditional, that means we need financial support, external support, and that can reduce the greenhouse gases, the CO2, up to 120 million ton equivalent of CO2. So now we are jumping to the energy sector, the current situation of the electricity generation in Côte d'Ivoire. So the actual capacity, the installed capacity of Côte d'Ivoire is evaluated at 2,369 megawatts. And with that, we have more than, let's say, 76% from fossil fuel, and with renewable, we have less, it doesn't reach even 30%. We have 24% renewable capacity in the country. And as the country aims to promote renewable energy and also green energy, it's targeted to reach 4,000 megawatts in 2025, just maybe next year. And I think this is achievable because there's currently different projects in the renewable sector that are under development. And by 2030, which is the targeted year, the country wants to achieve 5,000 megawatts of capacity. And right now, the electricity aspects of the country is around 64%. And we have a disproportionality in the share. While in the urban area, we have 92%, in the rural area, we have less access to electricity, and that accounts for 38%. So with this target to achieve 5,000 megawatts of capacity by 2030, the renewable energy is predicted to reach 45% of installed capacity. And the ambition is to electrify all the country, all the small village, all the remote area, and that will reach 100% access of electricity. So now let's have a glance at the trend of the installed capacity in terms of electrical energy. In 1990, we can see that hydropower, hydropower dominated the energy sector. While oil is less, we have more hydropower, which was renewable. And by time goes on, we can figure it out that here in 2020, we have natural gas, more natural gas coming in the game. That means that we have a reduction of renewable energy and more fossil fuel is brought into the energy sector. So in Côte d'Ivoire, the electricity consumption per capita is about 0.3 megawatt hour. And we have in terms of fossil fuel plants, we have 4 major thermal plants, the one in Cyprel, Azito, Agrico, and Vridi. And the country also exports electricity to the neighboring countries such as Ghana, Burkina Faso, Benin, Togo, and Mali. And is also part of the West African African power pool, which has the aim to connect the different countries in West Africa. So now we are going to tackle the different projects, renewable energy projects, ongoing or already implemented. But before that, let's explain a little bit about what is renewable energy source and non-renewable energy source, which is fossil fuels. Renewable energy source, as the name said it, is a source that can be replenished after its utilization at human scale. For example, solar, the sun can never finish. When we use sun, we have a PV. We use sun is unlimited, it can never finish. And we have also the wind, though the speed can fluctuate, but the wind will never stop. We have also biomass, hydropower, and so on. On the other side, which is really a non-renewable energy, we have what we call coal, the most dirtier form of fossil fuel. This type of energy takes more than 500 years before being replenished. And at human scale is not, we can consider it that this is finishable source of energy. So now we are going to tackle the different projects that has been installed in Cote d'Ivoire, but let's deal first of all with the solar power stations in Cote d'Ivoire. Before that, here we are showing the map of Cote d'Ivoire with the sun radiation, and we can all see that Cote d'Ivoire has a good solar radiation in its northern part. That's why all the PV projects are concentrated in this part, in the northern part. So here I'm presenting two projects, specifically the one in Bondiali with a capacity of 37.5 megawatts. And that project was expected to be completed in 2023, but unfortunately, it is ongoing. And I hope this year they will be able to finish with that. And we have the one expected to be completed in 2025, which will have much higher capacity. That substantial capacity is 52 megawatts. And here is a picture showing the power plant, solar power plant of Bundiali. So let's move on the different hydroelectricity power station in Cote d'Ivoire. In Cote d'Ivoire, we have 8, and right now we have 7 under operation. But here we are going to focus on the last one, which has the most higher capacity, about 275 megawatts. The one in Subre, inaugurated in 2017. And apart from that, we have also the Kosu one, we have the Tabo, we have Bio, we have Fai. And this figure shows the Subre hydropower. After presenting the hydroelectric power is also crucial, as I have a background in biomass, it's crucial to talk about biomass. And in the country, we have several projects which will operate using agricultural residues, all type of biomass. And here is the one in Ayebo, in the southern part of the country, mainly in Aboaso, that will use palm oil waste to generate electricity, and the capacity will be 46. And those of you who are always screaming or always scrolling on LinkedIn, I'm sure that you came across this project. That is the largest West African biomass central in Africa, and that will release up to 1,000 jobs, bring jobs to the youth. And the production over 25 years will be 336 gigawatts hour. And here is the picture, is under construction, and hopefully by next year, they will complete with this power plant and start generating electricity. And of course, that will help to achieve the target of increasing the implementation of renewable project to attain 45% of renewable by 2030. So hydrogen, as we are talking, we may not think about hydrogen, but hydrogen is very crucial. That's why I brought to your knowledge some data that I developed myself and with other authors. Here we estimated the potential of hydrogen using crop residues. And with 18 types of crop residues, we were able to estimate that the country could generate annually about 900,000 tons of hydrogen. And I recommend you to go on preprint. You can see this article is under publication there. So with hydrogen, hydrogen, the end use of hydrogen is very wide. We can use hydrogen in the electricity sector, and with the scenarios and strategy that we develop, we figure it out that we can generate up to 1,000 gigawatt hour of electricity per year. And the industrial sector, which is a hard-to-debate sector, will also be powered with hydrogen. And this substantial amount of hydrogen could be used to generate heat. And the agricultural sector, we previously said that the country economy is based on agriculture, which means that we need green fertilizer to grow the plant. Doing so, about 800,000 tons of fertilizer could be generated using hydrogen. And of course, the transportation sector, more than 4,000 and buses and 17,000 cars could be run using hydrogen. And the exportation sector is also not neglected, because when you export hydrogen, you are going to increase your economy. Let's move on. As we have already presented the different projects in the country, let's see some regulation that govern the power sector in Cote d'Ivoire. In Cote d'Ivoire, the power sector is governed by the Ministry of Petroleum, Energy, and Renewable Energies. We have also the Ministry of Economy and Finance. And finally, we have the Secretary of the State to the Prime Minister. So those entities are in charge of the implementation of the electricity policies. Develop some policies related to the electricity sector in Cote d'Ivoire, and also promote investments in the sector. And they also have to manage the electricity market, grant subsidies, and finally define some legal framework for the sector. So in summary, we have a regulatory body and an administrative body. The administrative body are the ministries, the different ministries here, and the regulatory body is NRSA, which is the National Authority for Electricity Regulation. Under those entities, we have the primary energy suppliers, such as gas or oil suppliers, and we have the generation, transmission, and distribution, and those elements as is managed or are managed by Cote d'Ivoire Energy, and Serio, which is in charge of the operation and maintenance, and at the end deliver electricity to the consumer. So in Cote d'Ivoire, we had two laws. The first one was in 1985. That law was a monopoly, which means that the electricity sector is governed by only one entity. But with this new law of 2014, it's governed by the liberalized activities. Any industry or any company can come in the country to implement its project, but that must be in high agreement with the government in order to ensure a balance between supply and demand, and also stabilize tariff. And this new, let's say, law aim to guarantee the independence and security of electrical energy, to promote the development of new and renewable energy, to develop electric power and promote access to this energy. And it also promotes energy management and creates economic conditions for return on investment, and promotes consumer rights, and finally promote competition and rights of the operators. And the last law regarding the renewable energy was developed in 2016, and the aim is to reduce taxes on renewable energy projects in the country. And that law is to encourage people that want to implement any project in the line of the renewable strategies can come in the country to implement that, because there will be a reduction on renewable equipment. So, dear participants, I think I will finish my presentation here, and I'll be glad to listen from you. Any questions, any suggestions will be highly appreciated. Thank you very much.
Wow, that was just wow. I wish I could put my hands together for you. Thank you so much, Hughes. Your presentation was incredible. Like, I've learned so much. I was taking notes and learning a lot from what Cote d'Ivoire is doing, and how you're able to explain it in such simple terms that it's easy to comprehend. So before I go ahead to ask my own questions, please, if you have any questions, just raise your hand or put it in the chat box and we'll be able to give you the floor. Okay, I think I'm seeing someone dropping something here. Okay, I think this is a comment, but if there's a question down, I'll also read it. This is from Joshua Rock. I love the presentation, very detailed and insightful. All I can say is Cote d'Ivoire or Ivory Coast is doing well in terms of development of the energy sector, with a special eye on renewable energy. I'd like the presenter to talk a bit more about the potential of cocoa pods as an input fuel for waste to energy plants. Okay. As the country is a big global cocoa producer, I see here a huge potential for waste to energy, and I'd like to hear more about this. So Hughes, over to you. He's asking about waste to energy. What people have in place? Do people have cocoa pods that will have waste to energy?
Yeah. Thank you for. His name is Joshua.
Joshua Rock.
Yeah, Joshua Rock. Thank you for the comments. And regarding your questions, I mean, in Cote d'Ivoire, as mentioned it earlier, Cote d'Ivoire is the world leading country in cocoa, but sadly, cocoa pods are not promoted at the national level. You know, after harvesting the cocoa, the pods are left abandoned in the farm, and there are some small industries that are promoting those cocoa pods to produce. They use them to produce biochar, but this is not enough compared to the amount of waste from cocoa. This is not enough, and I think Cote d'Ivoire, the government is trying to, because the problem is the transformation of the crop. All the cocoa, I mean, more than 70% or let's say 80% of the cocoa is exported to the international market. So people doesn't care about they don't care about the pods. So now the government is trying to transform locally the cocoa, which means that if the cocoa is transformed locally, then we have a good management of the cocoa pod. As now, what I can say is that with this new strategy that focus on waste management, I'm sure that when the implementation we arrive at its tipping point, the government will focus on transforming cocoa. And the good news is that me myself, I'm also working. I'm trying to do a PhD on cocoa, where I will, try to investigate the potential of hydrogen or maybe biochar using cocoa pods. Yeah, this is what I can say on cocoa.
Wow, thank you so much. You've really broken it down. Thank you. I think Stefan Abua's hand is up. Please, Stefan, the floor is yours. You can go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, thank you. I used to this occasion to greet everyone. So good evening, everyone. I'm Stefan Abois from Cote d'Ivoire, and I'd like to thank the presenter for his brilliant presentation. Right? My question is, in which city of Ivory Coast the biomass project is going to be set up?
Which project?
The project of biomass. My question is relative to your 12 slide 12, slide number 12.
Okay. Let's see. 12. Okay, this one. Is it this one?
Number 12. Number 12. Slide number 12.
Yeah,
Okay, this one. This one.
Okay, in the city, I think is Abuaso, but the village is Ayebo. Is it this one? Are you talking about the
Exactly. It's
it could
exactly
be
what I was
in
talking
Abosso.
to.
Yeah, in Abosso, but specifically in Ayebu is a kind of village, yeah, in Abosso region.
Okay, thank you very much. But I want also know if this project is already implemented or it's on, like it's going to be implemented.
As you see, I don't know if you can see the figure here.
Yeah, yes, I
Yeah,
can
yeah.
see.
This is a recent picture. I took it on LinkedIn. You know, someone published that on LinkedIn in this month. So I think the project is ongoing and is expected to be operational in 2024. But now they are not working. They are working on the different facilities. By 2024, they will be able to start the main process of using palm oil waste to produce uh, energy.
Okay, I got you. Thank you very much for all.
Thank you very much, Stefan. And thank you so much, Hughes. You're doing a good job in getting the questions right. Okay, I think Joshua is also sharing a contact with us. He said, thanks for the great exchange. I have a friend from Ghana who developed a project on energy densification of cocoa pod fabrications, fabricating biochar from it. I could put you in contact if you are interested to find out what he is doing. So if you want this, we can continue this conversation after this. This is what we are looking forward to, having such interactions and network building from this webinar. And I'm very grateful. Thank you so much, Joshua, for this. And thank you so much, Hugh. Our last question is, Moran, do you think Africa is ready for hydrogen? Because you took our time to explain about agriculture, which we are seeing, like we've seen that already happen. We've seen things in the renewable energy sector, but hydrogen still feels very new. Do you think Africa is ready for it yet?
Yeah, I think this question is a question that always in the discussion we encounter or come across. I will straight away say yes. Why? Because you know when we talk about energy, everything has its own beginning, and we Africans, we are always lagging behind because we don't take the risk to develop things. We always wait for others to develop things before trying to learn from them. And with this new hydrogen, if we say Africa is not ready, why we have the potential, then we are lost. To me, I think we are ready, but it needs planning, it needs financial support, it needs strategies. We cannot just say we are ready and just be like this. We need to work towards the development of hydrogen. Let's just use the example that I just presented here. On the strategies, we can see that from biomass we can generate hydrogen, but it needs financial support, and this must plan in the long term, not in the short term. When we take Morocco, for example, they are deploying hydrogen. When we take South Africa, where they are developing hydrogen project on hydrogen, even Egypt. But those countries are in Africa. While when we take West Africa, there is no one. We still talking. We still on the different, strategies. We are still developing strategies. Why others African countries have already some projects? Let's take Namibia. Namibia, for example, they have ongoing projects on hydrogen. You know, and Namibia is not an European country, is African country. I think we can go for hydrogen. It depends on the target of every government. And that's why we need to partner together. We need to partner. If we have great partnership, then we can develop hydrogen. But if we say, okay, we are not ready because it's expensive, because we don't have the technology, let me tell you that in 40 or let's say even 10 years later, we Africans, we start running after hydrogen. Why we have the potential? People will come to install the projects and we will not even benefit from those projects. I mean, we have the potential. We need to develop strategy. We need to partner in order to develop this hydrogen. And to me, it's possible in the long run. In the long term, it's possible. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. And for our final question for now, because I know we are time conscious and we would like to go about our daily activities afterwards. The question states from Mohammedu, and it says, my question is, do you see nuclear energy as an option for your country? That's for Ivory Coast. Do you see nuclear energy as something for that? And please, if you have other questions that you would want to give, please, we'll drop our emails and you can share them and we'll put you in contact with Mr. Hughes and you can continue the conversation outside here. Over to you, Hughes.
No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that the country has a plan for nuclear. It could be possible, but with the NDC, the National Determined Contribution that I read, there is not any project on nuclear because we have different potentials in terms of biomass, in terms of hydro, in terms of solar, and we haven't even developed, let's say, 3% of those potential. Why are we going for, let's say, nuclear? And we don't have, I'm not sure the country has uranium, high uranium like Niger, for example. For that question, I can say no, but maybe it could be possible that in the long term also, if the strategy of the energy sector changes, the country can maybe opt for nuclear. But for now, I'm not sure that the country will go for nuclear.
Thank you so much, Hughes. Thank you so much for a wonderful presentation. I don't know if you're seeing the comments in the chat box. Everybody is thanking you and saying your presentation was really insightful. And I am also saying the same thing, that your presentation was really insightful. I would also want to thank everyone for joining. We had a wonderful turnout of people today. Thank you for your participation, because it's one thing to join and it's another thing for us to be interactive. So we ask questions. I don't know if anybody had that feeling, like when you make a presentation, nobody asks any questions. You're feeling like, did I do a right job? But we can see that he has done a good job so much so that he has spurred conversations in everyone. Everyone is thinking, and that's really good. Thank you so much, Hughes. And some people would want access to your email they will also want to continue conversations after this and also access to your slides afterwards. So we'll share with them after this. Thank you everyone for joining today. We are really excited and we look forward to seeing you next week on Saturday. So we have another country that will be presenting. So let's join, let's share the information with others. Let's contact each other on social media. Let's try to keep the conversation going because we are learning. Sharing is caring. So as we share this, we learn from each other. We are building networks. One of my joys from today was when Joshua was able to say, okay, I have someone that is also doing something about cocoa pots like that in Ghana, and he's willing to connect. That's something that is really interesting for me. I see networks being built from here, and I see that from here we'll get to greater heights. Thank you everyone for joining, and we hope to see you next week. Bye-bye. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity.